Welcome along to Zooming with Driven, a special, of course, for the AA Driven Car Guy Car of the Year. We are joined by David from our Driven team and Avon from AA, both judges in this year's competition. So we are looking at passenger cars this week and performance cars as well. So a passenger car, to sum it up, is basically a car that's not an SUV.
Yeah, because everything's SUV these days. So once upon a time, everything would have been under passenger, but we've made a special category for passenger now, just to cover those cars that aren't SUVs.
Nice one. So this is, of course, in partnership with Winger, who have jumped on to sponsor the show and make it happen. So they are the home of Subaru and Suzuki. So visit one of their 6 dealerships from the North Shore to Hamilton. Great people, top car brands, the best deals. Visit winger.co.nz. And of course, the People's Choice Awards, $5,000 up for grabs. We have taken the 10 best-selling cars of the year, and you have to decide which one is the best one. And if you do, you could win $5,000 worth of fuel charge, and that means you can use it on plugging your car in or filling it up with petrol or diesel. So far, we have covered clean cars, hybrids, PHEVs, BEVs. That was all last week. And now we're looking at passenger cars, so sedans, wagons, and hatches, as David just said. And of course, then we're getting into the sports and performance category. So let's get into it. Our finalists we are starting with the passenger section.
Yeah, because it was interesting, you guys, last week when you were here with Damien and Alistair from the AA, you talked about how the EV generation has sort of meant that we're going back to some more traditional formats of car, like hatchbacks and sedans and things. Mm-hmm. That's just because electric car platforms are so sort of flexible. So in the passenger category, we've actually got a couple of cars that we've talked about already in the clean car section, a couple of electric cars. And I guess the difference is we look at them with a particular lens in the clean car section, but when it comes to passenger, we look at them in a different way as practical family, city commuter or family road trip cars. So we're looking at them in a really different way, which is why we can look at the same car in a number of different categories. Yep. And the first one is the BYD Dolphin, which you guys talked about a lot last week.
Yep.
So great little electric hatch, smaller than the Atto 3, which is technically an SUV, I suppose. It's so grey, isn't it? It's so blurry.
Absolutely.
Dolphin, very definitely a hatchback. It's a little super mini size hatchback. A couple of different models. BYD does a cheaper one. It's under 50 grand with a smaller battery. That's really a fleet car. The one we're probably more interested in is the extended range. It's got a 60 kilowatt battery. It's 430 k's range. It's 56 grand, and it's fully loaded, so that's the really nice dressed up one that you see.
Yeah. And I think that plus 400k range, Avon, is kind of the sweet spot for the consumer, isn't it? It's where people kind of feel comfortable and they don't have that range anxiety.
Yeah, I think that 150 kilowatt works well in that car. And of course, it's part of that whole BYD story, which we absolutely love, right? Yeah. So you've got a fantastic battery company in China that wants to start transitioning to vehicles. So what do? They go get the head designer from Lamborghini to start making cars. So what they've
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
What they've ended up with is an inexpensive but not cheap platform.
Yeah.
And it really works well in the Dolphin.
With great battery tech too. I mean, really
it's got the blade battery.
Yeah, and that's also, have I heard that right, that because of the blade technology, there's less degradation in those batteries.
One of the advantages with
and it's safer.
And it's safe, they don't catch on fire.
Yeah,
I love it how before you skimmed over the fact that they make 150 kilowatt. 150 kilowatt is what we dreamt of when the first RS Legacies and the WRXs came out with. That was horsepower we dreamt of, and now it's like 150 kilowatt. You know what I mean?
V8 Commodores used to have 160 on the bootlet.
That's it. We've come so far, haven't we?
Anyway, we'll move on to another familiar vehicle, the MG4, which you guys also talked about last week. So that's another fully electric car, small 5-door family hatch. And the genius of the MG4 is it's not only really practical, it's great to drive because it's rear-wheel drive. And there's this massive range. There's 3 different battery sizes, so you can basically, because the batteries are the expensive part of a car, so they've really done something smart by giving people the ability to pay for the range that they think they need. So you can get 3 different battery sizes. There's 3 different specifications. Price range from 47 grand to 64 grand for the mainstream ones. And there is just a new flagship model, which we have to mention, although we won't get too bogged down in it because we'll get all fizzy and excited, the X-Power, which has like supercar acceleration, and that's still under 70 grand.
That's in the sub 4 second 0 to 100k category, which is now beating an Audi e-tron for probably 4 times the price.
MG, and, you know, and when you look at it, more and more people are opting for MG. It's on their radar simply because of that price point.
Well, the dealer network's growing too.
And then you mix that with kind of sub-4 performance, and who doesn't want one? Like, it's head-snapping.
And they look great as well.
And you've got to mention the rear-wheel drive, right?
Yep.
What a winner that is for MG, because they were the sort of first to adopt it, and now they're sort of keeping it in the range.
And again, the genius of electric platforms, if you want to put the motor at the back, you can. It's no big deal.
Yeah,
you can have it front rear, it doesn't matter.
So 2 finalists, the BYD Dolphin, the MG4, and the third one?
The last one is a much more traditional car, the Opel Astra. So a car that we might have known in previous generations is a Holden Astra. This is a really fantastic car. It sort of represents everything Opel was about. It's really cutting-edge design. It's absolutely loaded with safety tech. It's got fantastic features, like it's got AGR seats that are approved by AGR is a German back health organisation. So these fantastically comfortable front seats.
What do you mean? What do they do? What are the seats?
They're certified. You know, like you can buy a bed that's certified by the Chiropractic Association. Well, these AGR seats are certified by an independent German back health organisation.
Very good lumber for bad backs.
No, but the thing is, right, every time I drive a car, my legs go numb, and I'm not joking, and that's not a great thing.
Try one of the Opels. It's an unusual car too. So it's 50 grand for the SRI. It's fully loaded, and it's very green, 5.1 litres per 100 k's. No electrification whatsoever. So it does that with no help from electrification. So an incredibly clean, very conventional car.
How have they done that?
3 cylinders.
3 cylinders.
3 cylinders are amazing.
Great fun to drive.
Yeah, right.
Sounds good. And there's also now, probably not part of our judging this year, but it's worth a mention, they have actually added a FEV model. So it's 72 grand. It's called the GSE, which stands for Grand Sport Electric. So you can buy a sporty one now too.
Well done, Opel. Opel's back. I mean, I drove past the Mercedes dealership on the North Shore just recently, and I saw it there at the very start. Well,
the Astra badge is 40 years old. And I think about 7 generations under GM.
Absolutely.
And now it's switched to Stellantis, which is Peugeot Citroën. So they're sharing that drivetrain. With the Astra.
Wonderful. That's our passenger category sorted. So BYD, MG4 and Opel Astra. This is an exciting category. This is the one I look forward to each year. It is the sports and performance category. So let's go through them.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about sports and performance is they're cars that celebrate the driver, like they're about the driver first, obviously. They're selfish cars. They're about driver first. But actually, they don't have to be super impractical, and two of the 3 are actually really good family cars as well. And the first one is the Honda Civic Type R, which was launched in 2022. It came along just a little bit after our judging for the last one, so it's sort of been thrown into the ring this year. We all love the Type R. It's a little bit bigger, but it's wider and lower than the previous one. It's as grunty as ever, 235 kilowatts, fantastic 6-speed manual, probably one of the best manual transmissions in any car, any price. What else can I say? Pure ice.
Pure ice.
Pure ice.
And that's, we've got, depending on, I mean, we're all converted to electric, we love it, but when you get a taste of pure ice, it's wonderful as well. The styling is a bit more on point this time, I feel. It's less kind of extravagant. They've got it right.
It's broader appeal. It's a bit more bespoke. Like I think previous Type Rs have been Civics with Tupperware stuck on them. This one is more of a bespoke body shape, and it looks fantastic.
I think the 10th generation, the FK8, was almost perfect, and this generation, the FL5, came out, and we thought, how can you improve on that?
And they did.
But they managed to, didn't they? A slightly bigger turbo, a bit more power, smaller flywheel.
Just going to say you're a big Honda fan because you know your model codes. Honda people talking model codes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, it's 11 generations old, right? So it's a cult classic already in New Zealand. We love it. And I guess the bittersweet part of this is this may be the last year that we're talking about performance category with the combustion engine. Like the 0 to 100k time on these cars is sort of around the 6 to 7 second bracket. And we know that's already getting decimated in the EV space. So next year, in 12 months, I think this conversation will be entirely different.
But they're about more than that, aren't they, these cars? I mean, they're not just about the 0 to 100s, they're just about the experience of driving. And, we've driven the Civic Type R on-road and on the track. Just fantastic. And
the feel, the sound, it's got the whole package.
It's a real driver's car that makes you sort of want to go to the back roads, wants you to shift the gears.
As a passionate Honda guy, how do you feel about that effectively becoming an end of a generation?
Well, it's an instant classic. So I think, in 20 years' time, the guys with those in their garage...
Guys that have held on to them.
As long as you can still buy petrol, It'll be great.
What he's saying is take some of that sweet, sweet radio money and get yourself a Type R.
Yeah.
Put it on the
I tell you, it's not what you think it is, all right? The next finalist.
Next finalist is from Toyota's Gazoo Racing division, so GR. It's a brand that we've all come to know really well over the past couple of years. In fact, the GR Yaris was an overall winner in our car of the year.
I love that car was
cool.
a winner. You know, as electric was taking over, we still had the heart to give it to a 3-cylinder, it 1600 little rally car. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So let's talk first about the GR Corolla then, because that's one of the. We've got two finalists from GR in sports category, but the first one is the GR Corolla. It's 75 grand, and it takes that technology from the Yaris and puts it into a Corolla. So it's a bigger package, but it's actually more powerful. So it's just as fast as the Yaris.
Yeah.
Is it as much fun or less fun or more fun? It depends on what your priorities are. The GR Corolla's got a bit of a softer side. It's got normal road car drive modes, which the Yaris doesn't. The Yaris is really hardcore.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's a bigger car. It's got the Corolla's got a better ride as well. So it's a more comfortable car, but it's still really focused. Like we've done track days in the GR Corolla. It's just absolutely sensational.
Yeah, so it's the one you might be able to slip past the missus. You know, it's this is a family car.
If you can get one, because Toyota only sells it, they do batches and they sell them by ballot. So you've literally got to put your name.
Wow.
Yeah, which the boss of Toyota New Zealand told us at the launch. It was actually inspired by limited edition high-end sneakers. That's how they sell like high-end Nike sneakers. They do ballots. So I mean, good on them. It's fair. You can't roll in with a big check and get one. You've got to. Everyone's equal. And our second GR is the GR86, which is the new version of the little coupe that we all loved 10 years ago when it was launched. It was just the Toyota 86 back then, but now it's the GR86. Much more sort of mature look to this model. It looks more like a really muscular coupe, a lot of Supra in the styling, I think. It's been completely revamped. The biggest change probably, it's got a new engine. It's got a new 2.4 litre engine, which is much more grunty and muscular. Yeah.
Yep. I just love that Toyota's are cool again. You know, like it went through that sort of decade of boring, and now they're bringing out some really interesting cars. The 86 is a throwback to the JDM icons like the MR2, the Celica GT4, cars like that. And our generation have an affinity to that, an emotional connection. And these cars were out when you were in kindergarten, Sam, so you may not have the same affinity to these cars.
I'm actually older than you think.
But also kids these days, like my son's 17, they are totally into all those JDM cars.
Absolutely.
They love those cars, so it's awesome to see them actually coming back with that passion.
And I like that it's affordable fun too, right? Yeah. It's probably the best handling value for money car that you can buy. The performance it's not breathtaking, but if you want a corner in an awesome car, the GR86 is the one.
Yeah. It's interesting though, these are very purist type cars in that respect. They're all ICE engines and everything like that.
All manual.
Yeah. So is that kind of the reason why something like the MG, which is getting to 103.5 seconds, is not on the list?
Well, we could be talking about that next year. We've published the first drive of the X-Power, but we haven't had it for a full review yet. So we could well be talking about the X-Power next year in sports and performance, and that'll be an interesting conversation again, because that'll be electric cars in the performance category.
Yeah, our expert team is going to go and eventually work through all of these categories and pick out a winner for each of them, and then we will eventually name the car of the year. What's the date? You wrote that down, didn't you?
Well, we want to talk about People's Choice probably before we start talking about the end of car of the year.
No, I was going to say we're going to get to that, but the other side of this is the People's Choice. Which one do you actually want to? Which one do you think should be the car of the year? So what we've got is the 10 cars that have been purchased the most this year, and we're asking you to vote on it. I did a video this week. It's coming out soon. I've just filmed it. Kerry Woodham, she chose the Toyota Hilux. Jason Reeves, the RAV4. A lot of people actually, Jono Ben, I think, chose Jono chose the Suzuki Swift.
Yep.
Which was interesting. He called it the Taylor Swift, which I thought was very fitting.
Special edition.
Of course, we want to hear your opinion on this, so go to Driven and have your say. Just Google Driven and then put in Car of the Year and 2023. It'll come up. Choose, and there's $5,000 up for grabs in terms of fuel charge, so you can charge your car to fill it up, whatever you need.
And you don't even have to do that actually, because it's pinned to the top of our homepage at the moment, that link. So if you just go to drivencarguide.co.nz, you'll see the voting form right there, and we'll just run through the cars for the benefit of people. So
do it. Good idea.
Ford Ranger, which was our last year's car of the year, actually, our overall car of the year.
I want you to pick it. Once he goes through the roll, I want to hear your thoughts, Avon.
Ford Ranger, Toyota Hilux, Toyota RAV4, Suzuki Swift, Tesla Model Y, Mitsubishi Triton, Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, MG ZS, Mitsubishi Outlander, and BYD Atto 3. So they are the top 10 selling cars to the end of September. They're the ones that you get to pick from, and as Sam says, you can win $5,000 worth of fuel or charge.
It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a trade-off between the Tesla and the Ranger again, somehow.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of good. I mean, there's a lot of brands in that top 10, obviously, because of the top 10 cars that have a very loyal following.
Yep.
So people do tend to get in and scrap over them.
Indeed. All right. Every Saturday we have a print edition that goes out with the New Zealand Herald. What's in it this week?
It's actually one of our monthly ridden editions this week, so you'll see a bit of motorbike content there.
Cool.
A lot more detail about our car of the year contenders that we've just discussed.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. For everything you need, go to drivencoty.co.nz. It is all there. Next week, it's the last group of finalists. So, light commercial, plus luxury and AA safest car of the year. And of course, this is brought to you by Winger Motors, the home of Subaru, not Subaru, which I've even had it spelled out, Soobaru, and Suzuki. So find them at winger.co.nz. Thank you for watching.